Oh, it's recording now. Okay.
It's real.
Hello, everybody. How's it going? It's real now. Yes. So we welcome you to, I guess this is number 5 of 4 of this Finding God series. And so I'm glad that you guys are here. So when putting this together, I kind of thought about it as, this one is called Finding God and the Beauty Within. And so it's interesting how my mind works about beauty. And so it's just like a compilation of what I'm thinking here. So I'm going to share my screen with y'all. All right. So Finding God in the Beauty Within. We're going to start off with a song, okay? So you can just listen. It's a good thing.
Oh, one of these nights and about 12 o'clock, this old world's gonna reel and rock. Saints will tremble and cry for pain, for the Lord's gonna come in his heaven airplane.
Get the idea, right? And of course, the beauty of 80s videos. Yes. Love it. Back when we used to have music videos. That's another time. That's another topic for another day. Okay. Anyway, back to the bone at hand. You know, what if God was one of us? And that's a great it's a great opening to us, because we always think of what if God was one of us. And in that video you saw different images of who God could be, from different walks of life, different races, different cultures, and different histories. And so, I mean, it's a profound song by Joan Jett there. So here you have Jesus taking a selfie, and it's encountering the living Christ. And so before we begin everything, we begin with Genesis 1:27, in which it says, God created mankind in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. And so, in looking at this, it's actually a pretty good picture there. As you can see, it's kind of like a, well, I asked that question. What do you all see in that picture?
There's like a man laying down. I don't know if it's Jesus or somebody else. And I don't know, it seems like there's like an angel putting their hand and like over them.
Yeah, so essentially that's Jesus. I mean, that's God there, an image of God, and that's seen as Adam, because from the dust we were created, right? From the ground, from the dirt, we're created. And so that's a portrait, a picture of the creation of man, if you will. So yeah, spot on. And so when we talk about the image of God, we talk about this word called Imago Dei, and that's what the Imago Dei is, image of God in Latin. So in looking at the Imago Dei, I want to know what comes to mind when talking about the Imago Dei. Whenever you hear image, likeness of God, what comes to your mind?
For me, I think of the face of God, just present.
Okay.
I think of Jesus, because, like, you know, in the scriptures when it talks about how he's the image of God made man, that's what I think of when I hear that term.
Anyone else?
I always think of just like any action, like act of service that someone does for somebody without like expecting anything in return, or like, I guess, a pure act of love that like you'll never get something back in return, but it's just like out of the goodness of your heart. That always is like God's image in people to me.
Yeah, all those are good answers. And it is that. It's that living image of maybe God here on earth. So when God created us, he stamped his image in our hearts and souls, and he created us for a relationship with him. And therefore, all of us search for and yearn for the eternal beauty and good, which is God. And of course, this makes sense, right? In our lives, we're ordered to the good. Like, we're not born bad, right? We're not supposed to be bad people. Do we do bad things sometimes? Yes, but are we generally bad people? I would argue no. And if so, we weren't born that way. For some odd reason, whenever I think of that, I think of the old Corky Romano, the movie Corky Romano with Chris Kattan, and talking about dogs. Well, they're not born mean. They were bred that way, they're trained that way. Well, of course, we're not dogs, but the same way, we are not born that way. And so we always try to strive for the good. We always want good. We always want beauty. And of course, that is God. So this is a picture that I took when actually about a year ago. Yeah, a year ago exactly. For my vacation, when I still could take one, I went to the Great Smoky Mountains and I hiked the Appalachian Trail, and I camped out at the Appalachian Mountains. And so this was one of the pictures that I took from very high, and it was just breathtaking. The pictures don't even do it justice. It's a beautiful image of the Great Smoky Mountains there. So with that comes beauty. I think that's beautiful. So another question for y'all, because this is going to be a lot of interaction here. What do you think of when you think of the word beauty?
For me, I think about the country a lot, considering that's where I was like born and bred. So like anything that's like with cows, which I know is really weird, or like longhorns, just like where it's quiet and peaceful, and I feel like you can hear, like, I don't know if you've ever been to Tekaboka or know what it is, but like they call this one part where like one of the kids is like where he sits there, he's like, that's how he feels, like God holding him in his arms. And I feel like that's where we can hear God the best, because we hear what he created.
That's beautiful. Yeah, thank you for that.
I think for me, I think of like anything joyful, and for some reason today what stuck out to me the most is just like laughter, like seeing people just like enjoy being together and laughing, even if it's something simple, but it's just like really joyful and peaceful and good.
Yeah, definitely. Now, in talking about beauty, there's a beautiful waterfall right there. Very nice, very tranquil, very peaceful. The word kalos can pertain to being attractive in outward appearance. And so like an example is in Luke 21:5. Or it can pertain to something or someone that is either physically free from defects, fine, precious, or of moral quality, being good, noble, praiseworthy, contributing to salvation, etc. And so that's a biblical type of, if you do some exegesis of the word beauty. And the other word, in 1 Peter 2:12, Peter's term for good, kalos, typically means beautiful or attractive, rather than morally good, for moral goodness. And the New Testament typically uses the word agathos. And so if you notice, one is being attractive in outward appearance, or someone that is physically free from defects or moral quality. The other one is moral goodness, and more used in the New Testament. And so the Christian life entails more than law keeping. It's a way of life, a style that slowly attracts people to its beauty. And of course, as you go into it, and as we go into it, we start thinking about, well, what is beautiful? And I think we'll go on to it more about questions about beauty and go further into beauty. So I'll wait for what I'm going to say until then. But it sets up this question of finding God. I'm kidding, but I know Dalton would appreciate this one right here. No, finding God. It's not the God of thunder. No, sorry. Keep calm and find God in all things. No, finding God. I like this picture because it's so tranquil, it's so peaceful, and sometimes I just want to do that. I'm pretty sure some of y'all want to do that too. Just find a place that's on a high point, it's away from everybody, and it's silence. When I was in the Holy Land my first time, we visited the desert. And let me tell you, the desert is the desert. One, it's excruciatingly, it's hot, hot, hot. But also the silence is just so deafening. Oh my goodness, it's so loud. I never thought silence could be loud, but it's loud. But it was peaceful, like nothing was out there. And that kind of gave a new definition to, well, when Jesus was tempted in the desert, or he went to the desert to pray, it's kind of like that whole thing. But he was praying himself. He was finding God in his way, right? He was talking to his Father. So, question. Where do you think that we would find God in this world? And don't be scared. There is no wrong answer.
How about in each other?
In each other. Yes.
In churches, like not, I mean, obviously Catholic churches, but just in churches in general. That's where people go to find God.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
In the sun, because God is light.
Mm-hmm.
I think out in public, whenever you see like people happy, or like if you go out shopping and someone gives you like a really good customer service, like paying a cashier, I think that's like God's presence too.
Y'all are right on. Yes, that's a big thing about finding God in this world. And thank you for saying all that, because, you know, a lot of times you'd ask people about God in the world and it's very superficial things, right? But human to human contact is one of those things that, surprisingly, it's pretty obvious, but it's not really mentioned that much, of finding God in others. And so, as we've been discussing, we can find and experience God in many ways: nature, music, art, etc. And I think next week or the week after, we're going to hear about media. As far as, you know, the dates and everything concerned, we're going to continue on. All that is true, good, and beautiful, though, comes from God, and it leads us to God, right? That's why even in the Catechism, when it comes to, or even in the rubrics, when it comes to like art for churches, when it comes to crosses, when it comes to all these sacramentals, they're not just there for the sake of just being there. They have to be tasteful, but they have to be good. They have to be beautiful. They have to lead us to God. So when we look at it, we can see God in those images. But the greatest image of all, like you all have been saying, is we are God's greatest creation. He spent the most time upon us. Not only that, but he gave us something that he didn't even give the angels, right? He gave us free will. He gave us the ability to reason, to choose not to follow God, and we're not going to be sent to hell right away. You know, even when we turn away from God, there's always that option that we can turn back to him. And that's something great. And so we discover that we're God's masterpiece. So this next part, I really enjoy. And I'll fill in some context if you haven't seen it before. Pretty intense scene, right? And of course, for those of you who are not familiar with it, that comes from the movie The Mission. So you saw a young Robert De Niro, a young Liam Neeson, and a young Jeremy Irons, like very young. And so, but in that scene, Robert De Niro plays a kind of conquistador. And in the beginning of the movie, he's the one that's killing those same Indians, those same tribes. And in a spite of anger, when he finds out his brother is cheating with his wife, he kills his brother out of anger, and he's so distraught by it that he says, I'm never going to kill again, and he locks himself and closes himself up. And so that bag that he has, that's all his armor and all his sword. And so the Jesuits, this is about the Jesuits. So Jeremy Irons is the head Jesuit there. He, I don't know if he was considered a provincial or not there, but he's in charge there, and he tries to bring him up to the village, and he refuses to let go of all that because he believes he needs to atone for all the things that he's done and all the killings that he's done. And so he carries it all the way up. And one of the Jesuits takes it and throws it down the cliff and said, "You don't need it." He goes back down, ties it up again, and carries it all the way. And so when he reaches to the top, that scene right there, it's one of the most powerful scenes, I think, is the same people that he killed for so long showed him mercy. And if that's not the image of God in the human person, I don't know what is. It was that forgiveness and that love that was shown. And so he just started crying because he had never felt that love before. And I think it's a very, very human moment there in that scene. So if you haven't seen The Mission, I would recommend it. It's one of those great movies that's out there. So yeah, I always get all like choked up by it, like. But here's some questions to ponder, and these are just I'm not asking you to think of them out loud at all. Please don't say them out loud, but something for you to consider. First off, who are you as a person? If you think about yourself, and this is type of a little meditation, who are you as a person? Who would you say that you are? Who do you think others say that you are? And what are your strengths, right? What are your strong points? What are you good at? You know, what makes you great? And what are your weaknesses? You know, we're not all perfect. So we have strengths and we have weaknesses. What are there? And then from there, we go on to, well, how's our relationship with God? You know, and so you think about yourself first, about who you are and who you are as a person and what makes you tick. And then you go to God. And how is my relationship with God? Maybe another question could be, who is God to me? Right? How do I see God? How do I see God? How do I pray to God? And then with that, how is our relationship with others? What is my relationship with others? How do I treat others? Have I treated them the best way that they could be? You know, do I see every person as a human person, no matter their class, no matter their race, no matter whether they're legal or illegal, or whatever they've done? Do I still value them? Or do I still have my fears, if you will? And these are all very honest questions, obviously, but they help us to define this image of beauty and finding God in beauty, that imago Dei. You know, in any ministry that you do, it's always about the imago Dei, the image of God. Finding the image of God in all people, even those that you want to smother with a pillow or toss out the window. It's finding God in those things in the moment. That's the tougher thing to do. And then the question is, do I love myself? Do I love myself? Do I love who God has created me to be? Do I love the mess that I am? Do I love the craziness that I am? That's a good question. And then the biggest one is, do I allow others to love me? And although those two questions may seem simple in itself, sometimes it's not. Sometimes we are our biggest critics. And sometimes we don't value ourselves as we should. Nor do we allow others to value us more than what they should. And And a good image of that, an example was like the clip that we saw from the mission, how he felt so bad at that moment. He felt like garbage. He felt like he had to carry around that armor and those swords forever because he was such a bad person. And yet, the people that he persecuted kind of forgave him in that moment and cut off that rope and destroyed it, cutting off that anchor that was weighing him down to freedom, that he had to start to develop that love and accepting that love. I know we got real deep here real quick, I know, but it's all about loving yourself, and it's all about the beauty within, right? And so within us. So continuing, what is society's definition of beauty? Warning. Reflections in this mirror may be distorted by socially constructed ideas of beauty. That's just your, caution right there, because Lord knows that's what, we do. So there's a question in there. I don't have a sign there, but I will beg the question here. What do you think society's definition of beauty is?
Something that's physically appealing to look at.
Okay. What else?
This is controversial, but I think sometimes like their definition of beauty, I feel like they promote like unhealthiness a lot. Like when they talk about those, like, you know which ones I'm talking about? Like they say like if you call you fat, like now fat is like a bad word, when it's like it's a fact. It's like, what else are you supposed to be? But I feel like sometimes they take it to the extreme and they make it seem like being unhealthy is like a trend, and that like somehow don't get me wrong, everybody's beautiful inside, but like that's not necessarily beautiful for yourself,
Right, it's what is true beauty. Yeah.
I think that society's definition of beauty usually focuses on like the physical and the attractive, what we can see, rather than maybe what's inside a person. But it focuses on the outer appearance and what people consider to be perfect or beautiful in that sense. So it has to do with the right body type and the right hair color and the right skin color and the right eye color and the right shape and all of those kinds of things. I think many times is how society tends to define beauty, based on the physical rather than the moral or the good or other aspects of beauty that you talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think kind of going off that, I feel like a lot of like society's view of beauty is just superficialness. Like it's all the fake things that basically like the image that you're trying to give people that you have your life together, or that you do this X, X, and X, like that's what beauty is in society, when in reality it's like everybody's putting forward like this fake image, and like the real images was like beneath us all, or like beneath that layer, I guess. So it's just fake. That's what it seems to me.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, I was scrolling through Yahoo, and apparently, I don't know why she still makes news, but Kim Kardashian, I don't know why. But nevertheless, Kim Kardashian was making it because she took an Instagram post, and it was her in like a thong with a bra and high heel shoes and something like that, and that's the latest style, and you can get them from this store for this much, and it's a picture of her just in the seat like black and white. I'm thinking to myself, really? Like this is the definition of beauty, is Kim Kardashian? Like, are you kidding me? Like we should just all vote for Kanye too for president, you know, whenever he comes up, you know, when he's on the ballot. I don't know, but it's, yeah, I mean, what you all are saying is spot on. It's that type of what is beauty, you know. But a funny one is Zoolander. Think of the movie Zoolander. Remember Zoolander? Male model business. And, you know, there's more to life than being really, 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 really good looking, as he would say. And, you know, it's just funny because that's such an image of, I mean, it's making fun of society, what they believe beauty is, you know? And so, yeah, you guys are spot on. Anybody else want to go before I continue?
I think another thing that comes to mind is like just luxury, like anything that's like luxurious and like really easy is kind of like beautiful. So I just imagine like these crazy, you know, vacations, and there's like shows that are, what is a show? Like I don't know, like about these huge, massive, crazy expensive houses. And I feel like, I don't know, or like in my experience, sometimes like the most like beautiful things are just like in really simple homes with really close families and like a lot of people like, I don't know, being together and just like enjoying each other's company. And so I don't know, that's just something that I think of, like just like luxurious and easy, and I think that's pretty much it, I think.
Hey, I watched MTV Cribs, okay, back in the day when it was on. MTV Cribs and seeing all those things.
I don't know what that is, Father. I do. But is that still
You do, okay.
You guys, is that still a show?
Oh.
MTV Cribs? No.
MTV is no longer MTV. It got hijacked.
I didn't even know that. That's so funny.
Don't even get me started. Ugh. Anyways. Anyways. Well, we'll move on, okay? It's a sore subject. I don't want to talk about it. But you were all good answers. You were all correct in that. Thank you. I like this image right here. What do you guys see?
God painting the world.
Yeah, it's God painting the world.
Mm-hmm.
Even before Bob Ross. Check that out. That is awesome right there. Yes. So Catechism of the Catholic Church, if you want some reference, number 41. So the CCC number 41 says that all creatures bear a certain resemblance to God, most especially man, created in the image and likeness of God. That's straight up from the Catechism, okay? Second, the manifold perfections of creatures, their truth, their goodness, their beauty, all reflect the infinite perfection of God. Third, consequently, we can name God by taking his creatures, perfections, as our starting point. For from the greatness and beauty of created things comes a corresponding perception of their creator. So essentially, this is just a nice theological church definition of what we've been talking about. Is we're made in the image and likeness of God, the Imago Dei, as we were talking about. And how, and that's why it's so confounding and weird whenever, you know, you look on the media or social media or something and we're tearing each other down with just silly things. I'm just thinking to myself, but if you really saw them in the image and likeness of God, you wouldn't do that, because you're essentially tearing down the creation of God. And, you know, it's just something that's just weird. It's just interesting how we have become that. You know, we have lost that sense of what beauty is, what true beauty is, right? Is true beauty really the Bachelorette and the Bachelor? Oh my goodness. All the guys that are on there, I'm just like, I'm never going to be that one. Like, no way. You know, or the girls, you know, they're there. It's like, are they all models? Are they all paid? Like, let's be real here. But even then, you know, not all of them are sweet. they're all feisty and they're all backstabbing and all ill, you know? And but it's a show. It's been going on for I don't know how long now. And yet that is beauty. But it's a matter of looking at the image and likeness of our neighbor. And I think that's the beauty with it. So, a couple things for us. How can we see God in us? I'm so glad you guys asked this question. Okay? I know, you guys want to know the answer? I will tell you this answer because you're just dying to know. So, first, acknowledge that you are not perfect, that we all make mistakes, and God loves you regardless. Acknowledge that you're not all that in a bag of potato chips, because you're not. None of us are. We're not perfect, and that is okay. You know, I love Mr. Rogers, right? And Mr. Rogers always said, you know, you're special just the way that you are. And so we all make mistakes, and God loves us regardless of our mistakes. We got to get in tune with ourselves, right? We always have to take our pulse. We just have to find out what's going on, what's ticking inside of us. Because we can get bogged down with everything in the world, but we also have to have that time to do some self-reflection. And so some questions that we may ask ourselves is, am I being the best Christian that I can be? Am I being that living image of Jesus Christ to my neighbors, to my family, to my friends, to my loved ones, to that boyfriend or to that girlfriend? Did I do something for someone today or pray for someone today? One of my favorite things to do is when I'm in a Starbucks drive-thru line, I always pay for the person behind me. And I think Deanna and I had like a conversation about this one time.
Yes, we did. We did.
But I would always do it. And it's, except I just won't be behind Deanna because I don't know what's going to happen. But,
well, that's a story for another time, but I promise you guys, I can be okay.
It was a joke. It was fine. No, it was all good. But no, but I mean, that was one of the things that I try to do, and it just see what happens. You know, you'll be amazed, or maybe you find yourself in a drive-thru line and someone's already doing it, and so then it comes that perpetual question of, well, you know, the person in front of you paid for you. Did you want to pay for the person behind you? And then you're stuck with that. Oh, do I want to break the chain or do I not? Like, oh, what do I do? And so, but I mean, did I do something for someone today? Or if you can't even spend any money or stuff like that, can I pray for someone today? Did I pray for somebody? If someone asked me to pray for them, did I actually take the time to say, okay, I'll pray for you right now, let's go? Or keep them in our prayers. Those little things, just those little things that we can do for others. Another thing is, where is God in your day? One of the exercises I do give, and it's very Jesuit, and I sometimes give it actually in the confessional for penance, depending on what the sin was. I don't remember when, but that's a grace, I guess, for me not to remember anything, so that's good. But where is God in your day? And I always ask those that, for you, that at the end of the day, if you have a journal or something, write down every single conversation, every single thought, every single word, every single action, every single thing that came throughout your day. And in those moments, the good and the bad, right? If you had a really bad day, write it all down. But then ask yourself, where was God in those situations? Was he there? Was he not there? And if he wasn't there, where was he? But if he was there, where was he? Because God is in every single situation throughout our day. Sometimes we just miss him. And so there's that. And last question that we can ask ourselves is, what were some good moments in the day in which we knew God was with us? Right? And that goes on with that question that we just answered. So one of my favorite things, and since it is 713 today, for the H, baby, right here, for the H, one of my favorite things, and I tell quinceañeras people this too, those are quinceañera, be true. Now, do you know who this is? Anyone know who this is? His name is Bun B. Bun B, rapper. Anyway, from H-Town music scene. Bun B. And so he comes up with be true. Now, if you ever heard of Travis Scott uses this trill too. So, but in it, he says, be true and real. And that's what trill means. Whenever you hear the word trill, that's what it means. Be true and real. First off, the true part. You got to be true to who you are and who God made you to be, to others, to family and friends that are included. So God created you for a particular reason. And as I said, don't try to be someone that you're not, because you waste that person who you are and who God created you to be. So be true to who you are. Be true to who God made you, and don't try to be someone else or do something else that is not just you. And of course, be real. Don't try to be someone you're not. Again, like it was there. They're linked, they're related, and nevertheless, they mean different things, but they're the same. Essentially, just be the authentic you. And that's what matters, is that authenticity of just being you. That's how we respect that Imago Dei, right? The image of God, is seeing God in other people. And I think what's beautiful about those with meaningful relationships, and for those of you that are in relationships or thinking about getting into a relationship or in a married relationship, I'm pretty sure the beauty that comes out of that person is their authenticity, not just the looks, but their personality, but who they are and what they do. That's where the beauty comes from. That's the qualities that you want to pass on. Some suggestions: take a couple moments each day to be in silence and talk to God. Talk to him like a friend. Of course, I'm going to advertise, we have Wednesday nights, adoration, 5 o'clock with confessions, and Jesus is there, live and in person. And so what better way to celebrate Hump Day, woo-hoo, right? By being there and just adoring and talking to God, talking to him like a friend, because he's there, he's with you. Lectio Divina. We've done a bit of Lectio Divina, I believe, and you've heard of Lectio Divina, praying with the scriptures. Do the reading of the day, and just, look at the gospel for the day and think about what's being said to you. And visit the Blessed Sacrament at least once a week, even if it's like for 5 or 10 minutes. Or if you pass by a church or something, just go in there just for a little bit on your way, home. Because just that little bit of time, you can just take a deep breath and let everything go. And then for recording purposes, some scripture passages: Isaiah 43, 1-4, Jeremiah 29, 11-14, Isaiah 49, 15-16, Psalm 63, 1-9, Psalm 139, 1-18, John, Revelation, Ephesians, 1 Corinthians, and then this is how we're going to end it, about human nature, okay? You are familiar with this one.
I can't do this, Sam. I know. It's all wrong. By rights, we shouldn't even be here. But we are. It's like in the great stories, Mr. Frodo. The ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were. And sometimes you didn't want to know the end. Because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing. This shadow, even darkness must pass. A new day will come. And when the sun shines, it'll shine out the clearer. Those were the stories that stayed with you, that meant something, even if you were too small to understand why. But I think, Mr. Frodo, I do understand. I know now. Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't. They kept going, holding on to something. What are we holding on to, Sam? There's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo. And it's worth fighting for.
And Fiend. That's my dog, by the way. Emma.
Aw,
She's right there.
so cute.
Yeah, that's how she lays down sometimes. She's really weird like that. But oh well. So, last questions. These are just discussion questions. Where have you seen God today?
I would say that I have seen God today in Father Brian's presentation, and Father Brian presenting this topic of renewing our hope and telling us to look within. And I think ending with that clip just kind of like tied everything together for me. And I don't know, it gets me fired up. It gets me like excited to go find beauty in the world. So
I would say in my family, especially in my little niece, I feel like, yeah, that's a very basic one maybe, but God teaches me a lot through her and through her just childlike, obviously she's 3, her childlike wonder. And so, yeah, I really feel like I saw God a lot today in her.
Okay, for those that maybe don't want to answer that question, this next question is a little easier. Has there been a person in your life who you have seen God in?
I think for me, what I've noticed, I really love this question because I've thought about it a lot, like throughout, like, I don't know, probably the last 5 years. But I think when I look back during like different seasons of my life, I feel like there has been like a certain person or like a certain group of people that have really like supported me or led me and mentored me. And so I feel like when I look back and remember those people or see how they impacted my life during that season, I think, wow, like God knew that it was going to be like this, so he sent me this person. And then God knew that this was going to happen to me, so he sent me this person. And so I think I mean, just to name a few, like, I don't know, my aunt who became my confirmation sponsor in the beginning of college. And then when I moved out of my apartment from my roommates, my aunt and my cousins who live next door to me, I've gotten really close with. And so I've developed like a really strong relationship with my other aunt. And then also like my roommates and my teammates, and even like some, like my coaches that I've had that have really impacted me and taught me a lot and contributed like something really impactful. I I feel like I've been really blessed in that way, like with all the different people that have really impacted my life.
Thank you.
Sister Clarice for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. I agree.
You're making me turn bright red over here. But anyway, for me, many times it's been like some of the older sisters in my community. There's one sister, Angela, she passed away just about a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago. She was like 96. She lived a really good life. And I didn't know her when she was younger, but the sisters say that she was really something else, and that that I can be grateful I didn't know her when she was younger, because she wasn't the nicest person apparently. But I only knew her as this sweet, loving and kind sister who just had a way of accepting life as it came. And whenever I went to talk with her and visit with her, there was always some little nugget of wisdom that she would give to me. I might be telling her something about, and she had dementia, Alzheimer's, but there were periods when she was really lucid, and you would be talking to her and you could have a conversation. She wouldn't remember it 5 minutes later, but I could tell her something about, you know, what I was struggling with or something that had happened during the day. And she always had some little thing that I would take away. So I think it's those people that God puts in our lives too, who have lived longer than us, who have more experience, that sometimes God, we see God in, at least I see God in people like that.
Thank you, sister.
Okay, I'm also gonna add one more thing. Okay, I just because she's in the group right now, I just want to say, when Abby came to our team last year, I was so happy because, well, first of all, she's like a super hard worker, and she just automatically, her personality just like stood out to me when we were first meeting all the newcomers. But also, she's like my first Catholic teammate that would like come to mass with me and was like, had like a common faith. And that was like the first time in 5 years. So that was like so refreshing and encouraging. And I really, really, really appreciated that. And I was really thankful for that. So I love you, Abby.
Thank you. I love you too. And I will put you on my list of first Catholic ever teammate that encouraged me to go to mass, even when I was like questioning if I was going to go or not. I always be like, oh man, I got to go, because I told Nicole I'd go with her. But my dad, when I first got on the team, I came from a place where like I did not have a lot of really good support. And coming into a new place, I remember just talking on the phone with my dad, and he was like, who's his horrible names? He's like, who's that girl again? Like, girl on your team is Catholic, Nicole. He's like, I just think that God put her in your life for a really like specific reason, and I've been praying for someone to come into your life who will, you know, be with you in the faith and like help you grow in that sense. So that's how you are to me too, and I'm so grateful. And honestly, San Antonio, Texas has just brought so many great things. So.
Aww. Heart.
Thanks for sharing, guys.
Yes, thank you. And on that note, thank you all for joining me. And that's it. That's all I got. Thank you. Any questions?
Sorry.
That's okay. What's that?
Oh, I was just going to say tomorrow night we have movie night. So.
Movie night. What's the movie tonight? What's the movie tomorrow night?
We're going to watch actually an episode of The Chosen. And it's a little bit shorter than a movie would be, but it's amazing. I'm sure you've all heard me talk about it, or you've heard about it by now from somebody. But it's the story of the apostles, or the story. They're like different chapters and different episodes, but we're going to watch one of those. And yeah, Dalton and Sister and Veronica can all say that it's really good, because I know that sometimes movies that are made after the Bible can be a little bit cheesy, but I really think this one's like very, very well made, and it like changed the way that I pray. So or like enhanced my prayer in some ways. So it's gonna be good.
You're hyping it up. Okay, cool.
Really, it is great.
And then Wednesday is adoration at 5 with confessions at 5, and then 6 o'clock mass. And then I think, do we have a break on Thursday?
Yeah, we're not doing any outdoor activities this week.
But of course, and then we have mass at Sunday at 7 p.m. So, but yeah, does anyone have anything else before we sign off?
Thank you very much, Father. It was awesome.
No problem.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for showing up. I'll be like a Southwest Airlines employee and say, I know you have many, many options, but thank you for choosing us. You have many, many options to fly, but thank you for choosing us. So, well, all right then. I'll continue to pray for you guys, and I ask you to continue to pray for me, and for all of us, okay?
Gotta love a father who uses Yahoo.
I know, right? I mean, not many people use Yahoo anymore. I love Yahoo. It's great.
You're an OG, Father. You're an OG.
I try. If I had my bling on, I would, but you know, it's a church function, so I can't have it on, but it'll be all right. So I guess then have a great rest of the week. The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
And may Almighty God bless all of you. In the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Go in peace, y'all. Bye.